Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kate. Today I wanted to share with you a sort of step-by-step tutorial of how I make my mandalas. I do have a little bit of a different style from most people. It's not very floral or naturey. I really like lines and circles and dots and all that more. But in any case, what you want to start with is a bunch of circles and lines. So here you can see me marking every 10 degrees on a protractor. I've already used my compass to draw circles, and I know where the center point is because my compass was stuck there the whole time. So I just go through each of those lines I drew at 10 degrees along the compass, and I draw a straight line through all of the circles. I do this as I continue around the circle. If you'd like a more in-depth tutorial of this part, just comment below and I can shoot another video that basically just shows you how to make the grid. I decided to go with rainbow because I love rainbows and I can't help myself. I'm not sure I really love how it turned out, but it'll grow on me, I think. With the center, I decided to use all of the colors because I couldn't decide which one I wanted to start with. So I used each of 6 colors, and because I did all of the lines at 10 degrees, that means there are 36 spokes coming out, or 18 lines across the circle, so it divides neatly into 6. So I was able to do 3 lines or 6 spokes of each color. Then I used the Stabilo 88s to put dots at the end of each line in the corresponding color. Then I decided that because I love blue and purple the most, that I wanted those to show up in the design the most. So I actually started in the center smaller rings with red. And all I did in this case was I drew on top of the line that I'd already drawn the circle, and then I just went back in freehand and drew a dashed line inside that. And then my next step was to draw a dotted line. And you might wonder, like, how is it possible to do these lines without them actually drawn for you? But if you practice for a while, I've done a lot of these, doing it freehand becomes fairly easy as long as you have some guiding lines. And you also realize that the human eye is not that concerned with small imperfections. So if everything is about right, as long as nothing is really different, then it's all going to look fine in the end. So for this next row, it is a little bit more complicated design, but it's not that complicated. So again, dividing by a number that goes well into 18 or 36, I chose 3, and I drew a diagonal line from across every 3 sections. You can see it in the picture, and then I just did it. I didn't want it to be all the same color, so I did red, orange, and yellow alternating. And then I went back when I was done and I connected, so I did it the diagonal one way, and then I connected the same color with a diagonal the opposite way. So that's what you see me doing right now. It can be difficult to see the yellow. I apologize for that, but it's a lot easier to see the red and orange in there, so I'm confident that you can get the idea of this design. And it looks really complicated, but it's just a series of lines connecting the right dots. Next, I decided to use yellow. I edited this down quite a bit because it is really hard, especially over the pencil line, to see the yellow. But all I did was every other line, I drew a yellow line, and then I went back and every other line I drew a dot, and then between each dot and full line, I drew a line that went halfway. So at that point I'm forming kind of like triangles. And then I went back and I put a line in between all of those spaces that would continue making the triangle. And if you look in there, especially when you see the pictures at the end, it'll be easier to see what I did with this pattern. But I do find it's easiest to draw the longest line you want and then the shortest line you want, and then work in between those. So then I started with green. And usually I take not a long time, but a little bit longer to ponder between steps I'm going to do. I didn't ponder very long here. It's pretty unusual for me to decide to do a pattern that has just a bunch of lines and then do another pattern that has just a bunch of lines. But I actually kind of like how it turned out here, especially since you can see the green a lot better. And again, I'm just doing the same thing I did with the yellow. Well, sort of the same thing, slightly different because I'm stopping at the same place for each of those lines so that it forms a perfect circle on the outside. But on the inside, I am making the line go to almost the yellow, but not quite. Then I came back in because I definitely wanted to have blue in here and I was running out of space on the pattern. So I did a dashed line in between each two of the green lines. So at this point, like, I have 3 lines between each of the 36 lines, the spokes that are coming out from the center. It's a lot of lines, guys. These things are fairly small, but they actually take quite a bit of time. When I finished this video, it was 52 minutes long. Obviously, I've sped it up here and edited parts out, but it takes quite a bit of time. Here, I just did a simple dot pattern. Again, I used the strategy of putting the dots on the lines to give me a guide, and then I do the dots in the middle, and then I do the dots between those. And then I came back in here, and I wanted to fill in a little bit between the green and blue and the purple, so I put in tiny, tiny dots of purple. And I'm going to finish this mandala out with a lot of concentric circles of dots in rainbow order. So this is my 3rd line of purple dots, and then I'm going to start going in reverse rainbow order with, so the next one will be blue, and that'll take me a minute, but I only show you the start and the finish. And I'm literally just drawing a dot in between each of the dots in the previous line. And when you look at the close-ups, just notice that there are imperfections, the spaces are not all even, and yet it still looks good. Like if you're looking at the piece as a whole, it looks good, and if you're looking at it up close, it looks homemade, which is not a bad thing either. So then I have yellow, of course, and I actually made the dots slightly bigger each row until I got to the green, and then I started making them slightly smaller each row with the yellow, orange, and red. And red will be my last color, and that's when I'll be done with this mandala. Even as I'm watching this video, I'm starting to like it more than I did before. Once I finish this row of red dots, I'll get out my eraser, I'll erase all those guidelines. You'll be able to see the colors a lot better, and it'll look like I magically drew all these perfect circles by hand. I wanted to shoot this video instead of doing another in my series of journaling by 5s, because this is my goal for 2018, to do 1 mandala every single day for 365 days. I'm going to be posting every single one of them over on Instagram at Kajelia, so check me out there. I'll probably also be posting some videos throughout the year as I do them. Some may be tutorials, some just process videos, and some flip throughs probably at the end of each month. If you enjoy this kind of artwork, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!